things you concentrate on? Where did you try to get better?
Well, like anything, you try to do a little bit of all of it when you get an open week. One, you want to give you guys a chance to get away from them a little bit and let them breathe because they're used to us a bunch and been with us for a long time, leading all the way through August. And then we had to spend some time on the road getting out and recruiting a little bit as a staff, and then come back in and put together a great plan for the guys that we feel strongly about executing and let the guys realize like what allows us to improve, and I think I've said it before, but like there is no secret to getting better. Like you sure wish there were easier paths, and there's not. So how do we get better? We get better at the stuff we believe in. We execute at a higher level. We work on our fundamentals. We spent more time. Coach Brown gave us more time and individual time to work fundamentals, and then speaking belief in what it's going to take for us to pull together in the locker room to sustain what we want these next 6 games to be for us.
Teams who've had some success running, has it been a combination of them having injuries, good plans against them, good players? What are you seeing from what they're giving up in the run game?
Yeah, I think a little bit of everything. Of course, exactly. They've been beat up and injured a little bit. And then, of course, they played very good opponents that have had good run game plans against them. They've had very good players that have also made the best of runs and made missed tackles and got contact, yards after contact. So a little bit of everything. It's like anything when you're trying to solve problems and find ways to find answers. It's a little bit of there's a lot to it. There's not just one thing, but that there's a culmination of things that adds up to some success, and then you obviously try to put a plan together that allows us to get there as well.
With Garrett Green, the talk all year has been about his running. What is the end of the passer? And I mean, is he ready? For example, if he was in a game and you were behind by a touchdown, to throw the ball and bring you back?
Yeah, I mean, he's still in the process of learning how to do that and be successful, which is accuracy, proper progressions, pocket presence, and those things. Like there's the things that he's got to continue to work on to improve, and we got to find the best places to put him in those situations to be successful too. So it's both. He's got stuff to work on in that department, and of course that's across the board. So he's growing. To say he's there would be inaccurate, but at the same time, there's things that he's done well and things he needs to improve on.
Neil had said that you guys, one of the main things, if not the main thing you worked on over the bye week was getting that running game going. I mean, what specifically as an offensive coordinator are you looking at the most to? Is it the line, or is it just trying to get Letty, his confidence back after a big year last year? Or what are you trying to do the most to get them on the right track?
Well, it's like anything. I think it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and I've said this before. Like, if we continue to, you got to make our wording, what we're telling our players, what our players are thinking is so crucial. It's critical to us getting better. So, again, there is no secret. Like, how do we get better? We certainly got to move people better, right? We've got to make sure our footwork and hand placement are sound. Our run reads at running back are better. Our perimeter blocking is sound. Like, it really is, and I'm not dodging the question. It's just there's not just one thing. There's things we've done better up front. There's things we're doing better in areas, but until we tie it all together and own it as a staff and as players to make sure it stays that way and we're not just saying if. You know what I mean? I think that's when you're close or you don't finish a game and things, everybody, I think it's a scary thing to say, well, if don't matter. Like we've got to get it done. And I think that tying our offensive line together with our running back, breeding confidence, and making sure we're not saying if we would have finished here, if we would have made this read, like it all adds up and compounds itself, and before you know it, you're telling a tale of maybes and ifs, and we just can't. So I think more than anything over these 2 weeks, it's been a commitment to saying let's get it done, and when we don't, we just got to make sure that there's a higher percentage of us getting it done to make sure we find yards on the ground.
Gerad, what have you seen from Zach Frazier, his development at center, just his growth in the 2 years that he's been here?
Yeah, I think, no accident from January till now, especially this summer. He took a big step. As quiet and reserved as he is as a person, he has taken great steps in leading vocally when he feels like it's fit. He did a great job leading the offensive line this summer, and it's just kind of went that way. He's done a really good job of owning those guys, and they've made steps up front. And he's.
What's your philosophy on developing young players? Is it kind of an art in your mind?
I think it is. And I would say Coach Brown would say the same thing. But it's so easy. Like when you take the one thing that they love the most, which typically when they come here to play college football is football, and they don't get everything they thought it would be initially as a young player, which typically is the case. Not always, but typically, right? The higher percentage is. So how you manage their confidence and what you give them and how much you give to them is crucial, because if you give too much, you risk them seeing early failure, which is hard to overcome. But you also got to give them enough to challenge them to get them to the point where they feel very comfortable or they know they can attack it. Like I would say, painting the picture would be like, how quickly can they kick the wall down? Because they're all going to hit a wall. We all do. So how do you equip them to do so? And I think it's a mental mind game, right? Just like catching the football is. We talked about that in the off season. Like, it's a mental deal more than it is physical. And so how do you overcome the mental pieces of it? There's about 15 different ways to do it. We've chosen our way, and I think just committing to that, then where it becomes a non-topic, it's kind of like effort. If you play hard, you really don't ever have to talk about it.
Maybe this is better for Chad Scott, but how do you keep Letty from getting frustrated when he doesn't have success?
Well, one, because Chad's great, and two, because Letty's great. And I think in order to be a pro, which he one day wants to be, how do you maintain? There's plenty of reasons to be motivated. Team success, individual success, his future. Not hard to motivate a guy in his chair, and I think that's something we just got to remind him of. He wants to play this game at the next level. To do that, guys sometimes forget, not to say he hasn't, but just in general, right? Like the saying goes, be where your feet are. Like we got to be good at the jobs we possess now. We got to be good as players at the jobs we possess now. Future success takes care of itself if you do that. So he has plenty of reasons to be motivated to staying in it, because it's going to affect his future, and more importantly, it affects his football team.
You've seen others. Is he a pro?
Yeah, he's a pro. Do we need to be better these next 6 for him as a group and all those things, and him for us, of course. But he possesses the things it takes to play at the next level, and everything we do moving forward will help his percentages of that.
You watch Patterson's defense. What impresses you about what he does?
Yeah, he's done it for a long time at a high level. His guys are tied together. They match you up and play sound football. He lines up. Those guys know the defense in and out. They know the adjustments to routes, formational adjustments, and all those things. Like, they're tied in and wired up together. He's done it enough to where he has answers for everything. So it's not something where you're going to be able to go to the well on a certain formation or set that entire game or for a quarter and feel great about it. Like, as soon as you show something, it's going to dry up. So that's a true compliment to him. Like, he fixes stuff and gets them fixed. This isn't something where you're going to see something get exposed and it'll stay exposed, if that makes sense. It'll get fixed.
The fact that he's had some issues with injuries in the safeties, has that impacted what he's been able to do a little bit, you think?
Yeah, I think so. Not to speak for him. Right, but I think that any time that those guys who are vital pieces to their adjustments would probably maybe speak to some of those things.
Gerad, is it fun, daunting as a play caller when you kind of have to have option B, option C, option D in the third and fourth quarter? Because like you said, that well isn't going to be there very often. Or is it, never mind, fun or challenging. Is it different as a play caller, knowing that you have to have options off of options?
Yeah, I mean, anytime I think as a staff, as we build it, anytime you're having to know that you've got to have stuff left would be maybe the best way of putting it. You're going to have stuff left to hopefully go win a fourth quarter game. So in thinking about that, there's things you certainly got to spend time mentally preparing for the game as you get ready throughout the week to make sure you have enough in the tank to get to make sure you can pull out games and finish them.
Following up on that, do you hold one of your best things for that situation, or is it something that you want to get early that maybe you can hit early? Is that one of the battles you go through?
Yeah, there would probably be 2 trains of thought, like, don't leave anything in it, and certainly empty it and get going. But then there's a thought, do you have some stuff available to you that if you've spent those, that would really be good to you late? That would be the 2 trains of thought. Yep.
Which way do you lean?
That we probably shouldn't say that one.
There is an urge, though. I mean, you have it when you've got a good series of plays. It's kind of a tricky deal, you know, the situation of the game, what you're seeing. I mean, there is that urge you have to fight to say, well, I need to hold this and keep it, right?
Yeah, sure. And then you don't want to, you know, you also don't want to keep anything in your pocket, you know. So it's I think it's the game within the game that we as a staff discuss, and we got to err on the side of also emptying our pocket too.
With them dealing with a lot of injuries this year, I mean, it's not the same defense that they've had in past years. They've been in a lot of shootouts. I think every game they've scored at least 27, and other than Duquesne, they've given up at least like 27. So do you expect more of a high-scoring game than in years past that you would see from a TCU game?
Yeah, I think you know what, the history of the season of this season, which everyone's different, right? This one shows up different for now for their numbers, and so for us, and I would kind of be I'm kind of careful on what I would predict. I don't know. There's things that could or couldn't happen within the game to make it a shootout or not. I wouldn't know. I know that for us, which is a thing we're preaching, like our jobs are to fill our guys full of confidence and make sure we score at least one more than them. You know, so history of this year maybe, but every game's different. We're coming off a bye. They've had an emotional game and a night game, so there's plenty of factors that could go either way.